So you're just giving a story of why liberalism is supreme or superior in terms of its values. You have justification for that. That's fine. That's fine. Well, let me finish. You have that story that you're giving, and I can provide a story for why Islam is superior and why these liberal values are incoherent, because that's what I claimed at the beginning of our discussion. So, but the point that I want to emphasize here, and I think it's very crucial, is that you are still a supremacist in terms of your values, in terms of liberalism. Okay, so,
we all are. We all are, of course.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great. That's all I want you to agree to. And the reality is that liberalism is being imposed. That liberalism is being imposed throughout the world by force. And you agreed that that's the case. That's the history of the West. That's the history of the West.
That it is not imposed on the same level, especially not today. I mean,
today is the most suppressive, brutal regime that has ever existed. The amount of control that the secular liberal regimes and this world order imposes on the individuals unprecedented in every single respect because of technology, because of surveillance. Like, you can't go and park your car in a certain part of the street without the state hammering you if it's against the law or if it's against the policy, right?
Okay,
the amount of control and oppression that exists today is far greater than anything from any civilization in the past. And that's because of technology. It's because of the logic of the state and secularism, right? This is the logic of secularism that is imposed. It is imposed across the entire world. You don't even a small Southeast Asian country like Brunei announcing, like a population less than 1 million, I think, announcing that it wants to, reintroduce hudud, this penal punishment within Islamic law. It can't announce that without the entire world saying that it's going to sanction it. It's going to, there's laws introduced by Ilhan Omar in Congress, the Muslim who is anti-Sharia. How is that not imposition? Right? That is brutal imposition.
What were the methods used in order to impose
the threat of sanctions?
The threat of sanctions.
Yeah, sanctions are extremely violent.
Can you briefly define what sanctions are?
Sanctions means we're not going to trade with your country. We've gotten your country dependent on our money and our resources through trade. You're now hooked, right? You're hooked on the world economically. We're going to cut that off. We're going to cut that off. Like, haven't you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman?
Of course. But
okay, is that fiction or fact?
What I'm trying to get to here is you're saying that liberal values are brutally imposed on the rest of the world. But the example that you're giving is simply Western people saying, hey, if you impose a death penalty for gay people, then we will stop trading with you.
Yeah, to starve you. To starve you, yeah. To starve your children, like we did with Iraq. 500,000 children starved to death. And when Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, was asked in the 90s, do you think that that's a cost that should be paid for our values, for U.S. interests? And she said, yeah, 500,000 children, no problem. Let them starve. Let them starve from sanctions. That's the most violent thing that you can find in history. Muslims never did anything like that. Muslims never starved 500,000 children. Where? Show me.
Okay, let me ask you something. Let's imagine a historical Islamic empire, which, as we have almost always had throughout the 1,400 years of Islam. The Islamic empire stands here and is ruled by the Islamic Caliphate, which imposes the Islamic truth, the supremacy of Islam, onto everything it dominates and onto everything that it can possibly dominate. And it's always at war. As Islamic scholars have agreed throughout history, an Islamic empire should strive through spreading Islam through contract or through war, if contract doesn't work. So let's imagine this scenario. An Islamic empire exists. Next to it, a tiny country says, hey, we accepted Islam before, but we don't really want to abide by that right now anymore. So forget about Islam. From now on, we will open gay clubs here. People will dance around. Will be gay. Will be naked, and this will all be approved by us in the name of tolerance and whatever. And you should just keep out of that. What would the Islamic Empire do in that position as a reaction?
It would invade. It would invade, and I conceded that at the beginning. I said that there's force, and there's a good reason for the benefit of those people. For the benefit of those people, they would Islam would come and impose Islamic law. Yeah, of course, I conceded that. Just like the liberal supremacist will say that, oh, this country is not allowing gay sex and gay clubs, and this country is not there's marriages, like they practice polygamy, they practice their women have to cover in this particular way, their women aren't allowed to do X, Y, and Z. We know that they're a small country of agrarian farmers and goat herders. Guess what? We're going to drone them incessantly. We're going to invade and make sure that their women take off the burqa and that their women are sent to read, our Western literature. And we're going to drone them and invade them, and we're going to drive them into the ground, send them back to the Stone Age if they don't accept.
Okay, I think we're going far off the point.
No, that is the point. That is exactly the point.